Hello, and thanks for stopping by the channel. This is a Medieval for Windows PC developed by Indefatigable and released in 2019. I think that's how you say that developer's name. I'm not sure. A Medieval is a first-person shooter that's considered to be a spiritual successor to games like Heretic and Hexen. I guess this is because of the Dungeons & Dragons type of a setting. Here, you play the champion, and you gather and wield a variety of ancient relics to defeat some evil force in a bunch of these higher dimensional realms. Instead of guns, we're talking magic wands and stuff like that. It's basically a medieval type setting, and I have to say it runs really well in the Steam Deck, and it's really quite playable handheld. The one thing that maybe is a little weird for me in this game is a certain part of the close-up perspective. It just looks a little bit like you're looking through a prism if you look down, like right down at the floor, or maybe it's something up close. It's just a little bit of graphic warping, or maybe it's rounding when you look in some sort of places. I'm sure there's a specific perspective name for this. It's just a little weird to me, and I just can't help see it. Not that this is a problem, but it is something small that I noticed. I think the one thing I wish this game really had, though, was a viewable map. Maybe a key press to open another screen or an overlay. I know that doesn't really fit with an ancient sort of setting like this, but having no HUD that shows you where you've been can leave you on some of the levels wondering exactly where to go. I found myself backtracking around a few stages for some pretty long periods, just trying to figure out exactly where I'm supposed to go. I do miss having a map, yes, but still, the level designs are pretty interesting. Lots of stone, monoliths, castle-type structure things, and walkways. I can't say that these settings would be functional in any real capacity, like, I'm not seeing bedrooms, kitchens, or living rooms, but for a mystical, ancient god-type structure, I guess you can have some leeway in that, and the level designs are certainly fun to roam around. The enemies you fight, they're demon-like for the most part, and they're sufficient for the subject matter. Nothing too crazy, and sometimes maybe they're a little angular and blocky, but it's not a deal-breaker for me. And depending on what mission you're playing, the enemies are actually different. I was really happy to see completely new enemies on the different missions. Not just simple skin changes either. I kind of thought at first it was going to be more of the same with just different colors perhaps, but they made sure they were pretty much completely different from zone to zone. I think the overall design of this game feels a little retro, kind of like a late 90s shooter. It just seems like this would belong in the PlayStation 2 era. Although the graphics are certainly much sharper, and the frame rate makes this game really smooth to play. It's definitely a modern game, and made to look a little classic. There are a variety of weapons for you to wield, and most of these actually require ammunition, even though we're talking swords, wands, stuff like that. You're constantly finding various colors of mana throughout the game, and these different weapons will utilize these different color manas. It's really not difficult to understand once you're into it. It makes enough sense. The axe is the first weapon you start with, and this is the one weapon that's actually just a melee weapon. When I started playing this, I kind of thought that the whole game was going to be hand-to-hand weapons, but that's not the case. You pick up a staff soon enough, and that lets you shoot things from a distance, which is great. The staff is probably what I'd consider to be one of my primary weapons, and it shoots this blue energy. There's also a greenish sword, that when you slash, you rip a green bolt of energy throughout the air. I guess the staff and the sword are probably the more common weapons you find, and they're plenty of fun to wield. There's also a trident that shoots electricity, and it looks pretty great, but I'm not very good at using it, and I tend to only use it when I'm forced to. Your grenade launcher equivalent is this staff that shoots these planet orbs that explode. And the thing is, the ammunition, the planets, the visuals of the planets on your staff. It changes as you cycle through shots. The planets change. What a great little detail to add to a weapon like this. It looks fantastic. There's also this weird crystal curly looking weapon that shoots these glowing balls that tether a bunch of creatures in one place, and it burns through all of them at the same time. You have to shoot this one in the proper place, of course, but when you get a good shot, it's pretty awesome to wipe out a cluster of enemies at once. So all these weapons, they do have a primary fire, but there's also this charged power mode that you can trigger every now and again when you build it up, and it lets you utilize an alternate fire for all the different weapons. It's not a really long period that you can do this, and you wouldn't be toggling it on and off. It's like being overcharged for a period of time. With the right usage, it's definitely enough power to get you out of a jam for sure. As you would expect with a game like this, you're going to find hidden areas throughout the various levels, and there are going to be plenty of bosses to lay waste to when you find them. Hopefully at that point, you've collected plenty of ammunition for these moments, because they tend to be bullet sponges. I've beaten 4 or 5 bosses so far, I think, and I think the variety from the bosses is also pretty great. Probably the one thing that I really think about when I'm playing this game, I'm actually kind of surprised they managed such a fun variety of levels. Some are bright, some are dark, some feel like they belong in a desert setting, and others are maybe water-based. I don't know, all the different designs, they really seem to work for me. And it handles good, the way you'd hope a Doom-like game would handle, at least in the basic sense. There are no complex shooter mechanics you have to learn to get through on this one. Like, there's no leaning around corners, there's no reloads, there's really no quick melee attack either. Out of all this, I probably miss having a map the most, to be honest. The little extra things you see in more modern shooters, I don't miss that so much, but the map I do miss. It's a lot of fun fighting through these levels, just to see where they're going to take you next. I didn't do a lot of research on this game before I started playing it, so every zone feels totally unique and new to me. There's also something about using a wand to blast apart an enemy as they run towards you. That's really fun. We have a total of 7 different episodes in this game, and each of these episodes has 3 levels to work through. I guess I was 4 or 5 episodes into this before I started writing the script, and I have to say, the size of this game feels pretty good. It's not too short, and so far it's not too long. I'm really glad I loaded this one in to give it a try. It's got a classic enough feel, and I'm definitely enjoying the design. It's really a fun romp. Well, that's all I have today for a Medieval on Windows PC. In particular, I'm playing it on the Steam Deck. It's pretty great. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and hope to catch you on another video.